Okay. So what I had said to um, the group earlier, for those of you who just came in, that Miss Martin wants to know as soon as possible today, possibly, whether or not you're going to take the AP exam. She needs to get you some information and get you set up as soon as possible. Okay. Also, once we know that, there is something called We Serve. And I don't know whether you have other AP classes, but it's kind of like a service project activity that if you are taking the AP exam, you can get on your certificate. It will also give you credit for having done an AP service exam. So I'll talk about that later on. But for now, we just need to know if you are taking the AP exam. All right. Some of you have done your carbon cycle reservoir, and some have done nitrogen cycle. For today, the new one is Food Web. So if you click on Food Web Review, the question that should come up today is this one. So if you have done all your other ones, then you can go ahead and get started on this. And I'm going to let this one be the last one of the review questions that we do and create. And instead of doing a mid end of unit, this is the end of the 9 weeks, instead of doing a big test, we'll just let these 3 essay projects stand for that grade. So in other words, you need to make sure that you have all of these projects put together and completed this week. I might do a short quiz on Friday, but you need to make sure that you are understanding these terms. So with this one, this assignment, the key terms here are positive and negative feedback loops. You need to know what we mean by positive and negative feedback. And it really refers to what happens, what are the good things that happen and the bad things that happen if a species is removed from the food web, or what happens if we add one to the food web. So that's the question that you're addressing. And you should give at least this is worth 10 points, so give at least a 3-sentence explanation. Give an example of a system of what happens. So using this diagram, explain what happens if you remove one of the organisms, what happens if you add one, okay, using this diagram. Okay, and I'm going to have to repeat that because everybody wasn't here. Okay, all right. Okay, so again, wait till Van gets logged in here. Good afternoon. All righty. All right, each of these was an essay project. Someone's asking me, what do I mean by essay project? All right. Oh, you mean this? Deborah, are you talking about these projects, or the one I was AP project? Then Miss Martin needs to know as soon as possible whether you're going to take the AP exam. She wanted to know by last Friday, but we weren't in school last Friday, so now she sent out another message to make sure everybody is responding to that. Oh, okay. Instead of the test. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So this is one. So you're doing an essay assignment here. So again, make sure that this is worth 10 points. Make it a good 10 points. So and it's divided into 5 points for the first part, 5 points for the second part. So you are to discuss in terms of it being positive or negative feedback, as far as what happens when we remove a species from a food web using this particular food web. So when I say that, when your discussion should be, you're going to pick one of these organisms and talk about what happens if one of these is removed, what all the repercussions of that one being removed. So you want a good 5-point answer for that. And you can pick two different ways to do it. You can do the top predator, or you can do one of the bottom predators, consumers. Okay, so that's one. And then the second part for another 5 points would be, what would happen if you added, in other words, sometimes in an environment, another organism comes in and it feeds on the things that were there. How would that affect the ones that are already there? So we call those an invasive species. If you add a species that's not normally there to this food web, so name the species, and looking at the organisms that are here, how would that affect this food web? So each of these is worth 5 points. All right, going back to your homepage. So when I said essay questions, you've been working on your carbon cycle reserves. So all of these were review questions. And all right, so this, you had to answer this question. So it was considered an essay question. So make sure that you, for 20 points, you've answered this to the full extent so that you get your 20 points. And then you want to, yes, I want to leave. So that question was essay question. The nitrogen cycle was also an essay question. So I'm saying that instead of us doing a test, I need you to make sure that you've answered all of these essay answer questions. Okay, so that's 3. So we did the biome test and the nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle, and now the food web. All of those are considered the review questions. So let me go back, come out. Let me leave student view. Okay, so where we really are, yes, you do have to put, all right, you don't need to tell me, Van, you need to tell Miss Martin. She's keeping a list, but I'll record that you, on my end, but so I'm writing that down. And actually, you all can tell me, but I still need y'all to text Miss Martin. So I have Van. Anybody else? Okay, Sadie. Anybody else? Anybody else? Yes, please let her know as well. I'm just, for my records, I'm gonna keep a list as well. Gabrielle, are you going to take the AP exam? All right, so I have Deborah. Okay, so right now I have 3 people. I have Van, Sadie, and Deborah. Anybody else? Okay. All right, please let Miss Martin know. All right, so where we are right now as far as the module is concerned, I've been pulling these questions from this review study guide. So what I've gone in and just broken down. Now you still do, I felt like we did a question already on primary productivity, so I didn't do that. Ecosystem flow, we talked about the energy pyramid, so I didn't do an essay question for those, but I did create, so we did a biome test. We did an essay question for the carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, and now you're doing food chains, food webs. And again, all I did was take the question that was there and put it in an assignment form. Okay. All right, so this is what you need to know. So you, as far as studying for AP tests are concerned, this is what they want you to know for each of these categories. Okay? All right. So use this time to answer today's question, or use this time to make sure you have the other questions done. All right, and I'm going to stop sharing so that I can look at grades. Um, I don't know why it did that, but it signed me out. All right, I don't have GoGuardian up yet because the system signed me out, but I will. So please, when I open GoGuardian, please make sure everybody's doing something environmental. All right. Also, everybody is required to be on camera. If you step out of the room, let me know so I don't think that you're right. And I know that a lot of people have internet issues, so I know that I'm gonna try to keep track of whether it's knocking you out and to let you back in. Like it just knocked me out of that. So I have to, let me do attendance first. All right, Gabrielle, you're still in as two people. And I know you got knocked out and kicked back in, but now I still have two of you. There we go. Aha, you're on the move. All right, so again, try not to just be logged in and then walk away from your screen because it does, GoGuardian does tell me when you're sitting idle. And um, if you're sitting idle, that means that you're not doing what you're supposed to do and you're just logged in for logged in sake. So everybody should be working on one essay or another. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Sadie, for letting me know. Okay. Rare time. Everybody's here today. All right, so like I said, it looks like everybody has done the carbon cycle. A few of you still need to do the nitrogen cycle, and then there's today's assignment as well. So today's assignment is short. So if you're finishing up your nitrogen cycle, you should still have time to answer the food web question. I don't know about you all, but time is going quickly today. So you got about 20 minutes to work on this one. Interesting answer. Deborah's asking if for the addition part, if you just want to pick um, one animal that you would add, again, you can add anywhere. It can be a primary, secondary, or an apex predator. And figure out where it would fit in the food web. And then you also have to figure out what it was most likely prey on, and what effect would that have on the other things that prey on that organism. So name one animal that you're going to add to the system, decide where you're going to add it, at the top, the middle, the bottom, and then look at what it's going to feed on and what effect that this additional organism is going to have on everything else in the food web. Okay. Did I answer your question? Yes, it's an essay answer question. Yes. So they're worth 5 points. So it's really worth 10, but you need each one should be a paragraph that's worth 5 points apiece. So yes, this is not a yes or no question. You should do one paragraph for each question. Yes. So one for adding, one for removing. Okay. Deborah, did I answer your question? Okay. That was a good question. So I hope everybody heard my answer to that question. When you're adding an organism, it's easy. Taking the one out is easy because you already can see already all the lines that are there already. Adding an organism is different. So, so you pick what organism, and it has to be one suited to that environment. And wherever you place it, you need to make sure that you look at what that organism feeds on. Is anybody going to feed on the organism that you introduce? So there's a couple of things you need to think about when adding an organism, an invasive species to your ecosystem. Okay? And I might add an invasive species can be a plant. In Georgia, kudzu is an invasive plant species, and it takes over. I don't know if you know what I mean by kudzu, but it takes over everything. So that can be an invasive species. Doesn't have to be an animal. Although I think the question did say animal. All right, time is almost up. Do you have any questions for me before you go?